want to officially welcome you to the Changemaker sessions. The theme tonight is healing compassion fatigue. Welcome to all you magnificent souls who are here with me live. Welcome to those of you who are watching after the fact. I'm Kimberly Carroll, and I am a coach for Changemakers. So I help those who are trying to help others, who are trying to make a difference in the world. I help you with the inner work, with creating the habits and the strategies to make you the most effective and enduring change maker possible. And tonight, it's such a lovely mix of folks. I'm seeing environmental advocates here, social entrepreneurs, racial justice advocates, of course, some animal rights folks, some AJers, whom I love, mental health advocates, a really nice mix of people here. And I'm so happy not only to have you here, but I'm so happy you're in the world. The change makers, folks, you're the last line of defense before this planet goes into oblivion. So I really appreciate you, and I even more appreciate keeping you healthy. Okay, keeping you so that you can keep us from going into oblivion. So tonight, compassion fatigue. I call it the catch-22 for change makers. So tell me if I've got this wrong, but you have a deeply caring heart. You have a commitment to your particular, issue, line of work, project, justice, and you get involved because of your caring and your care for justice in the world. And then what happens is, as you get involved, you get exposed to being involved in ways that tears your caring heart apart and shows you every injustice possible at every turn. So yeah, that's the catch-22, folks. It's not a fun thing. And that's why change makers are some of my favorite people in the world, that you're not in it because it doesn't hurt. You're in it because it hurts and you do it anyway. But I want it to hurt less, because the more it hurts, the less effective you are. Or at least the more it hurts and you don't have a way to process it, the less effective you are. So compassion fatigue, I don't know if you've noticed, I'm finding it more and more every day. It's becoming way too common of an occurrence for change makers, and even people that aren't like squarely in change making, that aren't, in sort of the service area, are starting to feel more compassion fatigue. And it's really taking us down as a movement of change makers. So tonight we're going to work on ways to protect you from getting consumed by compassion fatigue. At any point, if you have questions, you can put them in the chat, but I will open it up once, here and there, if you have something that's come up as we've been talking. And I just want to say hello to those that have just dropped in. Okay, so catchword: compassion fatigue. I was talking to Ken here the other day. We were emailing, and he said, I don't even know how many compassion fatigue workshops I've been to. And I'm like, yeah, I know, but everybody's got a different take on it. And I just want to get sort of the definition that I'm working with clear as far as compassion fatigue goes. I see compassion fatigue as the depletion of empathy and caring capacity due to the unrelenting exposure to and engagement in the suffering of others without being resourced enough. Okay, so it's the depletion of your capacity because you're relentlessly being exposed to it and you aren't resourced enough to process it. Okay, that's when our number gets really high. That's kind of what's happening. And how does this show up? Well, it often shows up like you feel like you're holding so much of the pain of the world in your heart that you're one tragic thing away from imploding. Or it can also show up as numbness. Like all of a sudden, this like bleeding heart you have has stopped beating and you don't feel anything. You're going through the motions. Okay. And that can be even scarier because that feels so unfamiliar, doesn't it? Yeah. So tonight we're going to talk about what I think are like the 3 keys to healing compassion fatigue. Number 1, better boundaries. Number 2, techniques for processing emotional pain. And number 3, a regular practice to build your inner resilience. Okay. Now, there are so many things we could talk about tonight around compassion fatigue, but those are the three that I think are kind of the triage that we need to, the things that we need to do right away to make it better. And just a reminder that this is a workshop, not just a listen shop tonight. So have your pen and paper ready. We're going to be doing some exercises. Close the door, tell everybody to bugger off. And this is your time. And we need to make it precious for you because, like I said, you are very important in our world. And so this time to take care of you is vital. Okay, so we're going to start with better boundaries because basically, if we have painful, enraging, super challenging things coming at us constantly, never mind the processing. Okay, it won't work. We'll just lose all of our resilience and capacity. I want you to think of it as a war zone. Okay, nobody can be expansive and healthy in a war zone. Unless you're a sociopath, really. It's not really possible. You're in survival mode. Okay, so the first thing when you're in survival mode is you need to batten down the hatches. Okay, you need to create some better boundaries, and we're going to talk about two types of boundaries tonight. Let me just, when I'm going to talk about resilience, like losing resilience and capacity a lot tonight. So I just want to be clear about that. Losing resilience, losing capacity means basically not being able to function either at all or just not being able to function at your full potential. So it might mean being a puddle on the floor, because there's just so much pain, or it may mean that the pummeling of all of the stuff coming at you all the time with no filters is causing you to shut down. Okay. And so, I'd be really curious in the chat if anybody wants to say whether they're feeling sort of the overwhelm of pain or if they're feeling sort of that desensitization. Somebody says, yeah, I feel like I'm completely desensitized. Ugh. Okay, so the two types of boundaries that I want to talk about tonight, I want to talk about boundaries that limit unnecessary exposure to distress and suffering. And the other one that I want to talk about is boundaries that give you a break from taking care of others so that you can take care of yourself. Now, let's start with the one I just mentioned. So we need to have deliberate and regular breaks from being of service, folks, so that we can concentrate on replenishing yourself. And I know a lot of you in your head right now are going, boundaries, blah, blah, blah. But this is make or break. People who practice this are not only the most enduring change makers you're going to find, but they're the most effective ones. Now, I know that you have heard this over and over and over again as activists, as change makers. In case of emergency, apply your own oxygen mask before assisting others. You know why? Because if you don't put on your mask, you're going to be rendered unconscious, you're going to fall to the ground, and you're going to be good to nobody. Okay, so I want you to picture that. I just want you to really picture you're sitting there, you've got your elderly parent on one side, you've got your small child on the other, and the masks drop down, and you're busy trying to put it on them, and you're dead. And then they're dead. Okay, it doesn't make any sense. It's not a good strategy. That's basically compassion fatigue. There is nothing better that you can do for your cause, your people, your movement than getting centered, healthy, strong, and connected. That is what makes you a powerhouse of a change maker. Sure, it takes a little bit of the time away from the work, but what you make up for in power it's unbelievable. Okay. So what this requires in order to have this boundary of being able to say, no, I'm not doing that. I'm going to concentrate on that. No, I'm not going to take that on. I'm not going to enter that battle. It requires you to be pretty clear and specific about where you have decided to help the most, where you think you can help the most, where you think you can make the most impact. It requires that you set some targets and commitments around that so that when you hit those targets, you can walk away guilt-free. How does that sound? When was the last time you did something guilt-free? Yeah, yeah, there's a bit of, yeah, and believe me, doing something else other than your work doesn't mean anything if guilt comes along with it. Okay, it's not replenishing. It's not rejuvenating. So this means when you are clear and specific about where you have the most impact, you have your goals set, you adjust those goals if you need to, but you have those goals set. It means then you walk away, you do not take that extra meeting, you do not take part in that Twitter war, you do not micromanage something that someone else can do, and you do not put up your hand to come to the rescue of your cousin's best friend's coworker. Okay? Now, I know that sounds a little mercenary, but remember, masks dead. Okay. I need you to keep that in mind. But even more than that, folks, when you don't attend to yourself, when you do not take that mask and have that oxygen, part, the most important part of your life and your mission will die. Okay. And you might say, well, I'm limping along, but I'm doing it. But you shouldn't be limping along. Okay. Imagine see what you get done limping. Imagine if you were in your full strength, if you were centered, what you could do. Philanthropist Warren Buffett has said the difference between successful people and very successful people is that very successful people say no to almost everything. Okay. They decide where they are the best, where they have the best impact for what is meaningful to them. And they say no to the things that take them too far off course from that. Okay. Now, the big problem with changemakers and the word no is it's not in our DNA. Okay. We are here because we care, because we have an acute sense of justice. So it's so hard for us to say no. I know this well. And that will mean that one of the most important parts about setting boundaries is learning to be okay with some of the discomfort of saying no. Okay. And that is the part that we're not so good at. So these are a couple of the things that I want you to keep in mind when you have to say no. And then that comes up. I want you to remind yourself of the oxygen masks dead. Okay. I want you to keep that in your mind. But number two, I want you to remember that you, as much as anyone else in this world, deserves your love and affection. I'm not sure, it's so funny. I talk to a lot of my coachees, my Changemaker coachees, and it's almost like everyone in the world deserves their love and compassion, but not them. And so I'm like, you must be a horrible, horrible, like worst person in the world, right? Like for that to be the case. And it just comes down to these very deep-seated feelings, of unworthiness that we get at a time in our life when we have no choice but to sort of accept the beliefs and the programming that were put upon us. But folks, I need you to be real with yourself. You, just as much as anyone else in this world, it deserves your love, your affection, your attention. I also find that saying no is easier if you're really clear on where and how you are making the biggest difference, or where you can make the biggest difference. So that means getting really clear on the issues you want to focus on, like getting a little bit more narrow, the skills that you can bring to it that are most impactful, the parts of your work or projects that really need your hand on it and really can't, have any, like it needs your hand, and who is really the kind of peeps you should be collaborating with. Okay. Those are all really important pieces to consider. So if you haven't considered those, I did a Changemaker workshop back in January called Focusing and Activating Your Year's Goals. And Kirsten, by the way, Kirsten is both taking part, but she's also helping me, as she helps me so much. And I'm so grateful to you, Kirsten. And also so grateful to Karen, who's here, who has been such a beautiful help to me in the last few months too. Kirsten's going to put the link for that Changemaker session in the comments. If you're listening to what I just said and you're realizing, oh my man, my focus is too wide, like I'm going in too many different directions, then your compassion fatigue is most likely a result of you trying to be too much to too many. Okay. And so getting focused is the secret sauce for you. So, stay with me now, but this is the next one on your playlist. Okay. Is this one. Okay. So let's just say you're clear on your focus. I want you to ask yourself, every time you're deciding whether to do something or not, this is the question I want you to ask. Will this activity take energy away from what is most vital to me and what I care about most? And if it falls outside of that zone, you have to give yourself permission to say no. Okay, let me say that one more time. Will this activity take energy away from what is most vital to me and what I care about most? So you notice I didn't just say what I care about most, vital to me, because you are the vessel for doing what you care about most, for getting to the place that you want to get to. You are the vessel. So you are the what is just as important as the how. So, so I want you right now, first little exercise here. I want you to think about something that you could challenge yourself to say no to right now in your life. Okay. It might be something really little, like somebody just asked you today, will you blah, 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 and you haven't answered them, and you can decide to say no to that. Or it could be something that you've just been thinking for a while, I got to put the brakes on this, or I've got to, I've got to delegate this, or I just can't damn well show up for this. I want you to just sort of give it just a minute to think about something that you can say no to. Okay. And when you've got that something, if you care to share it in the chat, I'm not going to use names, but if you care to share it in the chat, to just sort of give other people ideas, that would be great. So I'll give you some examples. It might just be, like you put up your hand when your partner said, hey, can you take care of taking the kids to this thing? And, you can decide, I'm going to go back to my partner. I'm going to say, honey, I'm sorry. I shouldn't have overextended myself that way. I'm taking that back. Cher said, say no to clients who are uncoachable. Yeah, absolutely. And saying no to my daughter being rude to me. Yes. We've got can let go of extra time at work. I've done enough. Yeah, stop putting your hands up, folks. You can so what happens is when you don't put your hands up for all those things that are on the periphery of your, your mission, you can put up such a big, powerful, fisted hand to the things that really do count. Okay. We have not getting sucked into drama. Oh my God. Say no to drama, folks. Say no. Yes. No to social events that you don't want to go to or don't have time for. Yes, you don't need to be everywhere all the time, because you know what? If you're just going to places and sort of punching a card, and you're not in your full energy and your full potential, and you're just not centered, it's really not doing you a lot of good. Let's see. Someone recently said no to planning an AR event because I knew I didn't have the mental resources to do it. It was a difficult choice. Yeah, but so good and so real and so responsible, because when we show up to planning or to representing and leading things and we're not in the right place, we can do more damage than help. Let me see. Saying no to researching off in all directions when my child self wants to go biking. Yes. And that fits into that place where what is vital to me. Okay. Remember what is vital to me and what I care about most. Okay, so I want you to make sure that you have this down somewhere so you do not forget to follow through with this. And I'm going to give you an advanced exercise. If you feel like, oh yeah, this is the place where I'm falling down, I want you to, for the next week, to say no to one thing per day that you wouldn't have ordinarily. Okay, one thing per day. And again, it might just be no to answering your phone. That's a thing. Or it might just be no to, yeah, oh, just cramming in that little extra meeting just because I got that 15 minutes. Why not? Okay, so it's a good exercise to keep you aware of how often you're saying yes and you don't even realize it, and how much that steals from really your life force going to what is most meaningful. Okay, the second piece of the boundaries I want to talk about tonight is the boundary of limiting your exposure to distressing things, suffering, anger, conflict. Now, we're change makers. We are, of course, going to feel, we're going to be exposed to pain, but we don't need to be exposed to pain 24/7, is what I'm saying. You're talking to somebody who has to sometimes watch hours of undercover investigation videos, some of the worst of the worst. So I'm not saying to avoid that, but it needs to be done in a very deliberate and a very structured way. So, I mean, folks, I think some of the social media out there, the memes, videos, all of that are such important tools to waking up our population. But a lot of you are already woken up, okay? A lot of you are already convinced of how shitty it is out there, and you're already doing something about it. So you don't need to tear your heart open with every graphic social media post every 5 minutes. You don't need to feel guilty for not advocating for every person who comes across your path. You don't need to feel a duty to jump in and manage every conflict. It's exhausting. You need places and times in your life where you feel safe and shielded for a bit. I just want you to take in that for a minute. A place where you feel safe and shielded. And if I could take every one of you and wrap you up and hide you from the world for a bit, I would. But you need to figure out how to make that happen for yourself. A place where a nasty Facebook troll can't get at you, or a place where somebody desperately needing your help can't get to you, or a place where those really urgent deadlines cannot get to you. If you don't have those times and spaces in your days and in your weeks, you will not be able to regulate your system. And that's where compassion fatigue happens. Okay, you get overwhelmed. You can't process, you can't regulate, and then everything that comes at you is either like battering you into a desensitization, or it is just battering you into overwhelming, just an overwhelm of feeling. So I want you to really think about establishing daily and weekly times in your regular life where you can be in the sanctuary of now, here and now, and cultivate a sense of innate security, preferably unplugged, okay? Because that's where a lot of our stress is coming from these days, folks. It's the online world. It's not everything, but it's a whole nother level of exposure that 20 years ago, Changemakers did not have to worry about. They had to worry about other things, but that is one that they didn't have to worry about. And so I'll give you just a few examples. I mean, there's so many ways to do this, but one of the things that I do is I refuse to go online in the first hour of my day. Okay. A study found that 61% of people who have smartphones, they look at them within 5 minutes of waking up. 5 minutes of waking up. When you wake up, you're still in dreamland. You haven't found what your identity even is at that point. You certainly have not grounded yourself and centered yourself enough to go into a world of millions of people, fighting or showing off or, picking at you. you're not ready for it. It would be the equivalent of you just like waking up and going out the front door in your pajamas onto a busy street. You're just dazed, okay? And you probably will hurt yourself. So that's one thing I started doing that about 3 years ago. It's really, oh, I love it. It allows me to start my day off on my terms. It allows me to figure out who I am and how I want to show up in this day, not to let somebody else decide that for me. Um, a lot of people also, they say that you should not be looking at your smartphones for the last hour before you go to bed. So that's what sleep experts say. And I really, sometimes I do go on just to read something, but I will not go on any social media or email in the last hour of my day. And so yeah, instead of scrolling Instagram before jumping into bed, folks, how about a bath? How about reading something soothing? How about a stretch? How about doing some stretching? How about just putting on some soft music and listening? What this does is it signals to the body that it's safe to start letting go and relaxing. And that's the space where all of the stuff, all of the hurts, all of the horrors that you've collected throughout your day, that's where that's creates the capacity for you to emotionally regulate in the face of that. Another favorite of mine, folks, and if you worked with me, you've heard this a million times, but it's my sacred Sundays, and it doesn't have to be Sundays. Kirsten and I were just talking about she's going to do a sacred Saturday, and it's just about choosing a day. And it doesn't have to be a whole day to start with if that sounds scary, but a day, it could just be half day, a day where you don't have anything scheduled. Okay. A day where you preferably unplug, at least from social media, and a day where you don't do anything out of duty. Okay. And I know this feels what, especially if you have kids, fur kids, all that. You can walk the dog, but just generally, this isn't the day to fit in 10 loads of laundry. Okay. This is a day where I want you to be able to feel safe enough to tune into your own rhythms, okay? Your own rhythms, hear what you need, answer the call for what you need. Okay, we get compassion fatigue when we do not when there's so many voices of pain and we cannot tune into what we need and answer that need. Okay. So yeah, so Sacred Sundays, I was starting to fall off of them a little bit, but they're in full effect again. And I still do stuff but I just don't plan it. My good friend Jenny here, she knows that we were like, oh, maybe we could go for a walk on Sunday. And I'm like, I was about to say yes. And then I was like, actually, no, I can't make a plan about that. But if I feel inspired, we will, and so that's just, it's a great thing to be able to share with other folks to also inspire them to be taking care of themselves in this way. Okay. And last thing around this boundary, I already alluded to it, but social media is probably one of the biggest emotional dysregulators there is, and we have to be really careful about it. It's also one of our really valuable tools as change makers. So we can't throw out the bath with the baby water. The baby water, we can't be with the bath water. I knew that did not sound right in my mind. So we need to, again, get more deliberate. So, for example, I really like the idea of before going on one of your social media platforms, knowing why you're going on. Okay, I'm going on to post, or I'm going on to reply, and being able to set a timer and make sure you get in and get out, before you get sucked in. Because I don't know about you, but it's a magical, mystical place that you go and all of a sudden an hour is gone and you have no idea who you are or where you are. And so I've been very careful around that. So setting your timer on your phone can be really good, just to wake you up, just to rescue you if you fall in. and to stay on task. If you do like using social media just as a social thing to catch up and everything, then just be very deliberate about that. Okay, be very deliberate. I'm going to spend 15 minutes and I'm going to check around here, and after it's done, I'm going to maybe check in and see if stuff has come up for me that I need to process, which we're going to talk about in just a moment. The other thing is the hard stuff. Okay, the really hard stuff that is on social media. And because you're change makers, you probably are, exposed to, wow, this community is in great despair. You're seeing, the videos of terrible animal abuse. You're hearing like a lot of the conflict that's going on. And so I'm not saying that you ignore it. I'm not saying you step away from it. We often need to know what's going on in order to be effective. But what I am saying is that don't just watch it because it's there. What I really like to do is if there's something I get a peek of and I'm like, oh, this is important, but it's going to be hard. I actually take the URL. I have a little, side document. I put the URL in, and I have, a couple of times a week where I go through the hard stuff. Okay, and it can be once a day. If again you're more involved in that and you have to be sort of really up on it, then it can be once a day. But what happens is before I look at this stuff, I make sure that there's not a million things going, that I have a space that's safe. I make sure that I'm a little bit emotionally, at least a little emotionally regulated. And then once I've watched it, there's time and space for some processing, whether that processing is crying, whether it is stomping it out and getting, just letting your rage come out in a non-destructive way. But it's important to be able to bookend and be really deliberate about when you're going to take in tough stuff. Okay, we don't understand. Like, I don't think you get, folks, the amount of distressful information you're taking in each day. It is enough to fell somebody, it is. We've just gotten used to it, and we're getting a little bit more desensitized to it. But when something like, we just have to be aware of how much violence we are taking in. Okay. So we're going to move on to the second cornerstone of healing. I really wanted to spend a lot of time with boundaries because it's such an important piece. And I would like to know if in the chat, if there was something around the boundaries that you're like, oh yeah, that makes sense, and I'm going to really watch that. Let me know. I really like to know what sort of helps people, and or if there's any confusion around anything. Okay, so the second cornerstone with working with compassion fatigue is pain processing. Okay, so you're going to be exposed. Like, we're going to put boundaries on so that you're not getting a torrent of it all the time, but you're going to be exposed. We're in the area of trying to help this aching world. And so what do we do with the pain? So do we let it build up into, thousands of layers inside of us until we collapse or explode? Or do we find tools to regularly move it through us and out of us? Just B. The answer is B. And so, really, what this is one of my favorite topics to talk about. I think pain processing is just key. I don't think many people really think about it, and they certainly don't have a lot of tools into place. So I'm going to just sort of give you a little taste of it. I also have a full workshop on pain processing, which Kirsten will put into the thank you, Kirsten, into the chat. It was called What to Do with the Pain. So I'll just give you a little taste of this, but if this is something that you feel is important for you, I want you to watch that whole workshop. Okay. So obviously the first thing with pain processing, it's one that a lot of us are familiar with it, but you got to talk it out. You've got to talk it out. And I know a lot of you are the leaders, and I know a lot of you are the caregivers and the ones who hold others. You need to find somebody else to at least once in a while hold space for you and listen and just let you fall apart. Okay. You need that. It doesn't make you weak, doesn't make you a wuss. It makes you smart. It makes you smart. And so I mean, really, the only pieces that you need to keep in mind for who you talk this out with is it should be somebody who can somewhat relate to you. Okay. I mean, so they probably somebody else who is in change making can help, but it doesn't have to be. It can just be somebody with compassion, awareness, socially conscious. It needs to be somebody that you trust won't minimize what you're feeling. Okay. Those are the two big pieces. They can relate, they sort of get it, and you can trust them to not minimize what's happening for you. So next action that I want us to do, I want you to think about, I want you to write down people or communities that you have access to, or you could have access to, where you can express your pain and be supported. Okay. It might be a short list, it might be a long list, but let's just get familiar. So who out there is, who's out there that you could call on to maybe, to maybe at least once in a while hold some space for you. And if anybody wants to add to the chat what they're finding, again, just to give some ideas, that would be really great. Oh, Tana Bray started doing Sacred Sundays last month. I love that. Cote says, I remember you mentioning not watching your phone in the first hour waking up. I implemented that into my life and love it. Oh, I'm so glad. Yeah. Colleen said the advocacy that I do is on social media. And yeah, so I'm not advocating you get off of social media, but I am advocating that, Colleen, that you absolutely make sure that you have very clearly defined times that you do this work. And before you do it, you ground, like you make sure that you've got, stuff around you that makes you feel safe. And then afterwards, you make sure you have time to talk it out or to do some of the things we're about to talk about. Okay, so I'm just going to take a look at the newer messages. Let's see, online, Animal Justice Academy, love it, Visitopia websites. Yeah, my husband, but I don't want to lean on him too much, or he would tell me to pull back from my activism. So I don't tell him as much as I should. Yeah. And that could just be that, the person that you give this role to, you may want to explain how they can be most helpful. Okay. You could say to your husband, look, honey, I really I love being able to tell you this stuff. It really helps me. You're such a good support, but I can't do it if you're, I just need you to listen. I just need you to support and be empathetic, and no solutions around it. Okay. No telling me what I did wrong. You can make that one of the parameters. Okay. Let me see. My mom, nice. I love that. I recently found a counselor who is vegan. Getting to talk through things helps a lot. Amazing. Patricia said Changemakers community. I love that. That's there. That is a resource for you. Colleen says, I can't talk about what I see in animal abuse videos because it's too upsetting for them. So Colleen, you need to, that's your family. I really would love to see you, connect with somebody in the Animal Justice Academy community, and just to say, maybe somebody else who's doing something similar, and to just say, hey, what do you think about, once a month, just getting on Zoom, or, if somebody local, going for coffee and just talking out some of what, we're dealing with. that's the best place to start because they'll totally understand. Colleen, the work you're doing is so hard, so freaking hard. You need that. Okay. You absolutely need it. Okay. You're not like, if you don't have it, you're not going to be there. You're not going to be able to be there for those sweet, dear monkeys that you're helping to change the world for. Okay. All right. Love it. Thank you so much here. All right. The second thing that I want to talk about with pain processing, it's so important having visceral ways of being with the pain. Okay, visceral ways. So, what I mean is, pain, folks, is actually a physiological thing. Okay, it's emotions. Your emotions turn into these physiological sensations in your body. And so it's not, I don't think it's good enough to just change your thinking. I think you got to change your body too. You've got to do some stuff with your body. And so let's go through a few of those possibilities. So first of all, the very simplest thing is using your breath in the form of just a few deep breaths or meditation, a more formal practice. And the difference that happens here when you are doing breath work with processing pain is it kind of is a little bit opposite to what we're used to with, say, meditation. So classically with meditation, you're breathing in the good stuff and you're breathing out the bad stuff. Okay, that's kind of, if you've done meditation, a lot of people are used to that. But what you're doing when you're doing pain processing is you're actually breathing into where the pain is. You're breathing into the sensation, and then you're relaxing around it, or you're letting it go, or you're softening. Okay, so I want to try this right now. I want to take you through a little try of this. It won't be long, it'll be quick, but just to give you a better feel for what I'm talking about. So I'm going to assume that probably everybody here is going to be able to find a place that feels uncomfortable or painful in your body, sort of from the emotional resonance of something. But if you don't have something ready, maybe just think about something that has been tough for you to kind of process as far as your change making goes, like just a little. It shouldn't be everything. It shouldn't be a big traumatic event. We don't have the time to delve into that, but choose something that might have upset you today, something that sort of is unsettling or pulling at you, and let's start with that. Okay, so closing your eyes. And let's just start off with a nice, big, slow breath in and out. And let's just do some shoulder rolls backwards. Really slow shoulder rolls, but big range of motion. And what this is for is to really have you drop out of the thinking, out of the brain, and into the body where we can deal with sensations head on. So really feel the cricks and the cracks, really feel your chest stretching as you roll back, maybe feeling some movement in the upper back, and one more right up to the ears, and then letting the shoulders relax down. And now this thing that you recognized as bothering you or was sort of a little hard to handle recently, I want you to notice where in the body you're kind of feeling the pain around this, and that pain may be in the form of anger. It might be in the form of deep sadness. It might be in the form of fear. So just notice where in your body are you holding really tight, or it feels really heavy, or really frenetic, but just where there's a lot of sensation. Often it's the heart or the upper stomach. Sometimes it's the throat. Sometimes it's the head, the belly, upper stomach. I think I already said that. So just noticing where right now do you feel it? And now what I'm going to get you to do is I'm going to get you to really aim your breath into that place. So I actually want you to breathe into that tight, searing, frenetic part. And that's going to hurt, and this doesn't feel good, and that's why a lot of people don't do it, but this is a big solution. I want you to just breathe into it, and almost like an exploratory mission. You're breathing in, you're digging in, you're checking around, like, what is this? Like, is it tightness? Is it hardness? Is it burning? Is it aching? So breathing into it and really getting connected to this sensation. And now what I want you to do is add one more piece. I want you to breathe into it. And then on the exhale, I want you to see if you can let go of it a little. I want you to dig into it with your in-breath. And then on your out-breath, just see if you can release it. Just a little at a time. Breathing in. And then letting go. And if letting go doesn't work, let's try breathing in and just softening. Breathing in, and on the exhale, softening. So again, almost like you're digging in with your in-breath, and then with your out-breath, you're letting go, softening. And now I want you to let go of the focus on the in-breath, and I just want you to focus on the out-breath, softening, letting go, relaxing. Letting the whole body soften. And is there any other place in your body that is calling for some letting go? Get in there and exhale. Okay, one more big, deep, centering breath. And on the exhale, let's just shake it out a little bit. Shaking out the head and the shoulders and the belly and the expression on the face. Good. And then coming back to eyes open. Yeah. I mean, we just did that for a very short time, but and practice makes perfect. But I hope you got the idea of, like, we spend so much of our life and energy running from pain, okay, avoiding it, distancing ourselves, distracting. And if we just went into that damn pain on a regular basis, excavated it and let it go, we'd be so much better. Okay. Yeah. How did that feel for you? Again, the first time might not have sort of hooked in, but I'm curious to know if you felt a little something. Yeah. Carrie says my head feels much better. Thank you. Yeah. You can use this on physical pain too. Just sort of breathing in and really it brings your attention. It brings some spaciousness to it. And then there's the sort of really physical act of letting go. Yeah, so not too bad. Yes, definitely noticed a difference in relaxation, and that it helps. Okay. So how do you use this in real life? Okay. You can have a meditation practice. It's a cornerstone of my morning practice. It's not long. I usually do 20 to 30 minutes of meditation, which can seem long for people who don't do meditation, but it actually goes by quickly. You can do guided meditation. You can do sitting meditation. You can do walking meditation. Lots of ideas. But there actually is. I actually have a bunch of meditations on my website, free. They're just really some 5-minuters, some 10-minuters, some 15-minuters. So if this is something that you're like, I want to explore this, it's a great place to start. Another thing that is great, my buddy and lovely teacher, Tashi Nima, who is just this amazing Buddhist animal rights death row prisoner advocate, and he recommends something called the 10 by 10, and that's 10 deep breaths 10 times a day. Now that's a lot to get started with. That's actually quite a bit, but maybe try 5 by 5. So 5 deep breaths 5 times a day, or even just start with 3 by 3. 3 deep breaths 3 times a day. And how you can do that is you can set it on your phone. You can put it as a reminder. And when the reminder comes up, you do it. You can also use placement to remind you. Like if you drive, when you go to drive, you take your 5 deep breaths or whatever. Or for me, I feel like one of the ways I do it is when I get up to go to the washroom, I drink a lot of water. And I come back, I do my deep breaths before I resume my work. So that can be, sometimes it's like, if you go into a certain room, then you do it. So just, just what you're doing here is you are slowing your system down, you're addressing the pain, you're going into it, and then you are letting it go. And I know it doesn't get rid of all the layers, but if you do a little bit of this each day, it will start to clear. Okay. And so that when new pain comes, there's plenty of room to be able to process it. Okay. So, this idea of really what we did is we allowed the pain, we felt into it, and then we did some form of releasing or relaxing around it. Now, how you take this up to the next level is you do this kind of, you do this little order of things with movement. Okay, you do it bigger. So you can do this via yoga or stretching. You can do it, via Tai Chi. But one of my favorite things that I love to do is I love to use some music with it. So the idea of, once a week of getting a couple of songs that really sort of like amplify the pain that you've been carrying, whether that's rage, whether that is grief, or whatever it is, and getting music that amplifies it and moving in that energy. Like if it's frenetic, moving in it. If it's like so sad and grief stricken, you're writhing in it. But just to be able to let the body have a chance to really feel this, and then you start to release it through, like you put on a piece of music that allows you to let go, okay, to relax your flow. And so, you can do it to one song that you just go really hard, and then at the end, you just let yourself collapse and breathe. But just this idea of using movement to feel into what's happening and then to let it go. Okay, let's try this. I'm going to give you one more little tool along this movement thing. Close your eyes. And once again, just tuning into where in your body you are feeling this sensation that we started to chip away at with the breath. Okay. Notice where it might be in a lot of places in your body, but notice where it's most strong. And what I want you to do is I want you to take your hands and I want you to bring your hands to this place in your body. And I want you to imagine this sensation is actually a visceral, tangible, physical thing. Okay, maybe it's like a long black gooey cord, or maybe it's like a really heavy stone. But what I want you to do is I want you to imagine, and the more that you put yourself into this silliness, the better it feels. I want you to feel like you can dig into that place and you can grab a hold of that pain. And for mine, it's slimy and it's wriggling and it's struggling. And I'm gonna grab it and you're gonna pull and it's resisting, but you're gonna pull and you're gonna pull and you're gonna pull and you're gonna pull. And when you've got it out, you're gonna wind up as much as possible and you're gonna throw it as far as you can. You're gonna throw it, you're gonna get it out of your body. Throw it out. And then let your whole body relax. Just let everything go slack. And just allow yourself to feel that sort of streaming out of sensation. Or if nothing else, have a little giggle over how silly that was. All right, taking in a deep breath and coming back to eyes open. Yeah, so that one again is one that, can, the more that you get into it. So if you were peeking, you probably would have seen me, but like say it's my heart. I'm getting into the heart and I'm pulling and I'm pulling and I'm gonna kind of like I'm getting it out of my body. It's ridiculous. Okay. It is like this dramatic sort of physical signal to the brain that it's time to let go. Okay. That it's time to let go. So, yeah, I'd be curious to know how that felt. If anybody felt something from that. I'm just reading some of this. Okay, excellent. All right, so I want to talk about another pain technique, and it's called the mind dump. So this isn't as physical. If you're a little bit more reserved and you don't love doing silly toxic, that was a toxic fling, by the way. I call it the toxic fling. This one might be a really good one for you. So I want you to grab a piece of paper, not your notes, something completely different from your notes. And the mind dump is a place to express all of that which you've been holding for others and all of that which you've been holding for yourself. Okay. All of the stuff that you have on your shoulders. I want you to be able to dump it. Okay, at least for a little bit. So these are the rules of the mind dump. We're just going to write for 3 minutes. I mean, I usually on my own would give it 5 minutes, but because we have limited time, we're going to give it 3 minutes. And you are going to put pen to paper, and you are just going to write whatever it is you're feeling. Okay, you're going to feel into your body. You're going to, whatever thoughts are going on in your mind, you're just going to put it down on the piece of paper. No censoring. You don't need to worry about your grammar, your spelling. Mine are barely legible. Okay. It's just a matter of you being able to give yourself this space of this piece of paper to feel and recognize what you've been holding. Okay. So any questions about that? Okay, so just stream of consciousness. If it starts with, I don't know, but this exercise, Kimberly's a little off today. Things like that. So be it. Just see what comes up. Okay, so I'm gonna set the timer and go. You don't have to be diplomatic. You don't need to find the gift in anything. You can be as petty as you want. You can name call. All bets are off with this. Nobody will see it but you. And even if you get to a place where I don't know what to write that down. I don't know what to write. Okay, and wrapping it up. So that was only 3 minutes. And it felt like you all got pretty absorbed pretty quickly. And sometimes that is what our that's what the being inside of us is needing, just needing some space to be heard, even by ourselves, by ourselves. And so yeah, curious to know what came up, if anything, sort of what came up for people in that. Please, if there's anything that you want to share or ask about in the chat, please feel free to do that. But for me, this is another one of my daily practices. I mean, I sort of alternate between doing a mind dump and sort of more regular journaling, because I don't, I actually don't always have stuff to, I like to do a combination of dumping and also appreciating, and just sort of taking sort of a little bit of a tour through my life and my psyche. And so yeah, but mind dump can be great to do, especially if you're high on the compassion fatigue chart right now. Then it would be really good to be able to do this every morning or every night before you go to bed, just to be able to have a place to express the sadness, the hardness, the frustration, the fatigue, the confusion, somewhere that you can regularly express yourself without having to worry about hurting other people's feelings or not showing up or how it's going to affect others. And if it's a particularly toxic mind dump, as soon as you're done, rip the shit out of it and have fun doing it. Okay. Rip it up, put it in the garbage. And so mind dump can also be used on a as needed basis. So when you're, find yourself in the middle of the day and you're just like vibrating and you don't know what to do with it, mind dump is a great, great place to do it. So yeah, okay. Okay, so Tenebrae said, wow, word vomit, didn't know so many words held in. Yeah, absolutely. Okay, I don't think I need to mention it. I do need to mention it. A good cry. A good cry is one of the best processing techniques. I don't think we let ourselves cry enough in this society. So if it means grabbing, a song to play that gets the waterworks going, checking into a memory that makes you feel like like it's just, it allows you to release. I always say holding in tears, it makes as much sense as holding in diarrhea. Okay. Neither is good for you. So you need to keep the tears flowing. I want to Jenny, I think, had to leave. Jenny Donovan, but I want to tell you about project Jenny Donovan is doing. She's creating a book called The Coronation Project. And the Coronation Project is, she's choosing all these stories, and hers is focusing on animals, all these animals, for sort of famous animals that came to a very tragic end, usually because of human exploitation. But then what she does is she sort of post-mortem coronates them, brings them back to their beautiful, most robust, most potential of themselves, and this is all illustrated and has them crowned and has them in their power. And I have been finding this idea beautiful to try in a lot of different things, and not just with animals, like with people that you've seen humiliated and their dignity taken away, seeing them with being having a great big beautiful crown placed on their heads, and just so much honoring of this person. I sometimes see the planet Earth having this beautiful big crown on Mother Earth, and just saying thank you for your majesty, and so just that idea sometimes of really being able to connect with the strength of the victims that you have come across your path. connecting with their sort of eternal life force, their eternal energy, can be really, really effective. And I'm going to do a little, yeah, I'm going to do a little exercise with you. Folks, I know I'm going a little bit over. I'm so bad at this. But I do want to, I have one more little section, and then I want to take you through a really healing. Actually, let's do it right now. Let's do this healing visualization now, and then I'll get to the next part, and whoever can stay can stay. Okay, so we have been working with a particular scenario, but you don't need to choose. You can choose something else if you want to. You can choose, again, something that has been really weighing on you, a situation, an experience, or you can just tune into the general like feeling that your system, is kind of overwhelmed with. Again, whether that be heaviness or a sense of being alone, or a sense of just so much heaviness on your shoulders. So what I'm going to get you to do is I'm going to get you to connect one more time with that experience. Okay. And I'm going to get you to close your eyes. And I'm just going to check in and make sure that you can hear the music. And you just nod your head if you can hear the music. Perfect. Thank you. All right, folks. Once again, let's take in one more big deep breath. And just allowing yourself now to let go of what came before and let go of what comes next. And just allowing yourself to start to sink into the seat beneath you. And once again, just really being in this situation, that's sort of been weighing heavy on you or sort of breaking your heart or exhausting you. It might be a specific thing, or it might just generally be the pace or energy of things. And really give yourself over to that, like really feel that. It's hard to heal something until you feel it. So once again, noticing where in your body it is. Breathing into it to really connect to it. And now, I want you to feel like you're being encircled now in a really gentle, warm, and safe energy. It might feel like a blanket. It might just feel like a current of warm air. It might feel like light. It might feel like arms holding you. But really feel that. Really breathe into it. And I want you now to feel this energy pull you out of this place you're in right now. Just pull you out of this room, pull you out of this Zoom. And I want you to find yourself now standing in a clearing, in a forest. And the temperature is warm and the sky is so comforting. And there, encircling you, all around you, in a circle around you, are just a number of loving holders, beings, okay? Loving people, beings that are so good at holding others and holding pain. They're so solid, but so tender. There might be familiar faces in this circle, supportive presences that you've had in your life in the past or currently. Or they might be loving, wise, powerful beings that are new to you. Or mix. But right now they are circling you. They have you in this middle of this circle, and they are protecting you and holding you in this circle. And I want you to feel what it's like. And what they're doing right now is they're breathing into your pain. They're excavating it for you. They're helping you process it. They're using all of their strength and their love to breathe into it and to exhale it. And I want you to just feel your body start to relax with every exhale of this circle of beautiful, loving people, beings. And they get closer and closer and closer to you. And they're actually supporting your standing, so you don't even have to stand on your own. You can just let go and be cared for a minute. Let go. They've got you. And for some of you, again, I said people, beings that can include humans and non-humans. But let yourself rest. Let yourself receive their support, their care, their concern, their love. Feel held in whatever way feels right to you. And now, two of those beings take your hand and you become part of that circle. This beautiful circle with this current of love moving through it, and you feel so released and so spacious. And now I want you to call in whoever it is that you have been caring for, that you have felt that you need to hold and take care of and protect. It could be one, it could be many. But I want you to call them into this circle, and you are not doing this alone. All of these powerful beings, hands together, are going to hold these beings together to comfort them, to heal them, or to give them rest. So who are you bringing into the circle? What being or beings? See them there and feel you in the circle, holding them, loving them, relieving and soothing them, freeing them, or empowering them. And if you feel at all like you're losing strength, some of the ones in your circle will turn to you and concentrate on you again for a minute or two. But there's just this powerful, continual current of love and power moving through all of you. bringing this circle back with you to this room, this moment, tucking them into your heart or your gut or wherever it is, and knowing that you can call on them at any point to come and join you in your work, your very important, loving work. All right, let's take in a nice big grounding breath and letting go with a big exhale. Well, I hope that gave you maybe just a little bit of relief. I'd love to hear in the chat if there was anything that came up for you in that, anything that you discovered, even if it's like, I'm not very good at receiving. That's, was one of the first things when I had an experience of that. I'm like, I shouldn't be here. I shouldn't be receiving. That's really good to know that that's what's stopping you from getting nurtured, from getting fed, from getting replenished. Okay. For some of you, particular faces or beings might have shown up that you need to remember. Those are some of your power beings. Okay. Those are beings that you need to go to on a regular basis. Yeah, some of you might have discovered a way that they held you that was really good for you. And you need to remember that and see if there's a way that you can incorporate that into your life. Colleen said, I invited my little monkeys into the circle and it was happy chaos. Oh, honey, so beautiful. I saw your monkeys too when we were doing that. Connie, thank you. I'm so glad to be able to bring some soothing to this beautiful crew. Okay, so I just want to touch on this last thing really quickly, folks. And by the way, if this was really helpful for you, that visualization, keep it as a back pocket visualization. It's going to be on YouTube very shortly on my YouTube channel. So you'll be getting the URL of the replay, and keep it nearby. Okay, keep it in your back pocket. And I have, others kind of like this on the meditation page, and I'll be adding things as we go. Okay, last thing for you brave soldiers who have stayed with me over time. Our third cornerstone of healing, compassion fatigue, folks, is a regular practice to soothe and strengthen. Okay, a routine that helps you create more strength, more expansiveness, so that the exposure that you have in your life, the stuff that you need to carry, doesn't create debilitating pain. Okay, there's going to be pain, but we don't want it to become debilitating pain. We don't want it to become suffering. I know this sounds suspiciously like self-care, which gets minimized and mocked a lot. I'm like, oh, self-care, go do your nails. That's not what self-care is. I look at self-care as doing the things that give you the capacity to connect to what is most important to you in your life. Okay. And that self-care, those activities, that routine will vary widely, okay, between people. But what's important is that you know what feeds you and you habituate that. Okay. You recognize what feeds you and you make a habit of it, not just a once in a while thing, but you weave it through your life. Okay, so this requires you to get pretty crystal clear on what at this juncture in your life enlivens you or soothes you. Okay, and you really kind of have to do this revisiting every once in a while because it changes. Okay, like 1 year or 1 month you're like, I just want like fun and play and aliveness, and the next month it's like, I need to cocoon and I need to drink warm soothing tea, and you got to be willing to listen to that and respond to that. Okay, so what is your form of soothing soothing or enlivening. It could be music. It could be cuddling with animal friends. It could be journaling. It could be green shakes. It could be boxing. It could be therapy. It could be being in nature. We all need more nature. It could be spending more time with certain friends. It could be painting. It could be, a daily dance party. It could be gardening, baking, anything. Okay. I think physical health it should be a part of the equation. I think joy needs to be a part of the equation. I think appreciation needs to be part of the equation. And I think community needs to be part of the equation. But let's just start with last exercise tonight, and I'm going to let you go. I want you to just take 2 minutes, and I want you to write down right here at this particular junction in your life, what feels caring, what feels good to you, what feels nourishing. Okay, so I gave you some examples, and it doesn't have to be a lot. Is it eating healthy foods? Is it a certain song before you go to bed? Maybe it's an old friend that just feels so comfortable to be with. Is it a particular comedian? Is it particular colors? Maybe it's a class. Maybe it's one of the little exercises that we did tonight and it resonated and you're like, yeah, that. I need more of that. You know the things that make you feel replenished, that make you feel nurtured. You just don't do them enough. Maybe it's weekly massage. Even if that massage is a self-massage to your feet. By the way, on my meditation page, I have a massage meditation. You might want to try that. Okay, so I just wanted to get you started, but think about this a little bit more as you go through your weeks and whatever those activities are, they need to go into your formal calendar each week, folks, or your routine each day. Before you start filling your schedule up with busy work, with meetings, with people that you don't know, if it doesn't go in your calendar, it doesn't go. And this is a cornerstone. It's what will make you resilient. It will be what makes you enduring and effective for the long haul, which is what we need you for in this world. Okay. So, one thing from that list that you can look at right now and you can say, I am going to try to incorporate that into every day, like one aspect of that. Anybody got something? Put it in the chat if you do. Okay. If there's something that came up tonight or on that list that you're like, for this next week, I'm going to do this daily. Yeah. Nature. Excellent. Gerbine's going to be forced to turn off her phone, but turning off your phone. I love it. Okay, so folks, just so you know, my YouTube channel, Kirsten put in there, it's got workshops. If you enjoyed the workshop, there's plenty more there. Cher said sound baths, and my grandson Colleen said, and yes, Jareen, it was so nice to have you here. Okay, folks, we will see you for our next Changemaker sessions. I'm not sure what the date is, but you're on my list, so you will get the first notice of that. And it's been so wonderful to hang out with you. It's such an honor. It really is. Oh yeah, Jacob, it was fun for me too. Tulips, Gervine, yes. All right, everybody. Take yourself off of mute because I hate that I've been the only voice here. Take yourself off of mute. Can I have a nice good night from all of you? Good night, everybody.
Good night.
Good night.
There's the
Good
voices
night.
I love to hear.
Thank you.
Okay,
Thank you.
everybody.
Thanks a lot.
Have a good one. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.